That he's been on the job for just 42 days, but New York Mayor Mamdani today in Albany looking and asking for money. Political folk call it Tin Cup Day. The new mayor, already facing a $7 billion budget deficit, needs even more to pay for his agenda.
New York City Mayor Mamdani just hit New Yorkers with the old switcheroo, man. Remember when he was running for office? He said the MTA was going to be free. He was offering a whole bunch of free stuff, man. Well, guess what? He just finished proposing, man. He just finished proposing, man, that we raise taxes. Yeah! People really thought that this guy was gonna go in there, bro, and just start handing out freebies, bro. Like, this is New York City, bro. When has anything ever been free out here, bro? Ain't nothing ever been free out here. These people are always looking for a new way to tax us, man.
You know, a pretty useful rule is that whenever a liberal or socialist says that they just want to tax the rich, that's never what they actually mean. They want to tax you in reality. They will sell you this very utopian vision of the world that the only reason poverty and cost of living issues exist is because these greedy billionaires just aren't sharing their piece of the pie. But what always happens in socialism, you run out of other people's money, and then inevitably the tax revenue, the funding has to come from somewhere. And so inevitably, what do Democrats say? Oh, the rich all left. Oh, we ran out of the rich people's money and we're still in a budget deficit. Okay, let's just start taxing the middle class instead. And yesterday we covered the story of how Virginia Democrats campaigned in November claiming, oh, if we raise taxes, it's only going to be on the rich people. And then the single moment they get into power, they're already talking about sweeping new gigantic sales taxes that disproportionately affect middle class and working people. And it looks like the same story is happening right now in New York City, where Zohran Mamdani famously said that he's going to pay for all of his free stuff by raising taxes on the wealthiest of New Yorkers. But now, after realizing he can't really do that, and it doesn't actually work that way, I kid you not, he's now speaking immediately about raising property taxes on ordinary working New Yorkers, while, of course, let's not forget, campaigning on affordability. So just keep that in mind. When Democrats go into 2026 saying, oh, we're going to address the affordability crisis, that's what they actually mean. They mean raising taxes on the middle class so that way they can do what exactly? We don't really know. I guess try to fix some of their ridiculously bad budget deficits. None of this money ever makes it back to the people. But hey, you know, the party of affordability, definitely, folks. But that said, I want to tell you about this story here today. We'll show you the back and forth clash between Kathy Hochul and Zohran Mamdani that we've spoken about a couple of times because, to make a long story short, the New York governor, despite supporting Mamdani, is not going along with his proposal to raise income taxes on the rich. And so what essentially Mamdani is doing right now with the New York budget is saying, okay, well, instead of abandoning my stupid campaign platform, instead of being actually responsible with the city's money, I have to raise funds from somewhere. So he is now publicly saying, yes, middle-class New Yorkers, I'm going to raise taxes on you. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is something he's now outwardly admitting publicly. So to all of the Mamdani supporters who thought, oh, I'm voting for free stuff. First question, where's the free stuff, huh? Notice how he stopped talking about free buses because he realized he can't even pay for that. But at the same time, you're not getting any of the public services you were promised. But secondly, what did you really vote for the entire time? Raising your own taxes without getting any tangible benefit on the back end. Welcome to the Democrat Party, ladies and gentlemen. Shouldn't surprise you. But anyways, that said, let's tell you about this. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. We greatly appreciate the support, but it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all the latest news and coverage. And that said, in order to understand what's currently happening at the financial level in New York City, I think we have to take a flashback to a little bit earlier this year in the end of last year, where we talked about how when you listen to Zohran Mamdani on the campaign trail, he vowed that he would pay for the free buses and pay for the free stuff by raising New York state income taxes on the wealthiest New Yorkers, he was saying by 2%. We pointed out control over income tax entirely falls to the state legislature, and so it made no logical sense as to how he would make the governor and the state legislature do that, considering he's the mayor. And so his answer was basically, oh, but we're going to ask Albany to do it. Well, update ever since, Kathy Hochul has repeatedly doubled down and stated, no, we will not be pursuing Zohran Mamdani's tax increase, which is was always going to cause a source of conflict because, hey, they claim they're going to give free stuff, but they can't fund it. So take a listen.
We know that Mamdani does want to tax the rich more, bring it up about 2%. He can't do that on his own. You've previously said that you wouldn't be raising taxes. Have you reconsidered that stance?
No, I would say one energetic rally does not get me to change my positions, I assure you. But I do hear people's voices. I process what everybody says, but I'm also have to balance governing this state and making sure that those people who are actually the reason we have a generous, supportive budget that helps lift people up, it's their revenues that we tax. 1.5% of New Yorkers cover about a third of our budget. That's enormous. I'm concerned about outmigration of people who are the ones who are supporting our budget. I cannot make up for that with middle class tax increases. I cannot do that to the middle class and the struggling New Yorkers. So this is the balance. I mean, this is my position.
Yeah, and as we said, this was always going to be a source of serious conflict between the two. No matter how buddy-buddy Kathy Hochul and Zohran Mamdani were on the campaign trail, nothing could mask, first of all, the ideological differences. Mamdani ascribes to be a progressive, Hochul ascribes to be a liberal. Yes, in the end, they ultimately usually end up being the same thing. But on a question like raising taxes, this is relevant. It's also worth noting the serious amount of political pressure on both people here. Mamdani obviously is under huge pressure. He promised a lot. He oversold the campaign. He can't come up completely empty-handed, and so he's pushing very hard. Hey, I want my free buses. I want my campaign promises to be fulfilled. But on the other hand, Kathy Hochul, the governor, is up for re-election this year. It certainly would not be popular for her to raise taxes statewide, especially considering she's the governor of the whole state, and the optics of saying, I'm going to entirely cave to Mamdani so that way I can fund the socialist dreams of one city in our entire state while leaving the rest of New York State out to dry. Also, on top of that, not very good politics. And so this clash, ladies and gentlemen, was always going to come. Both sides are desperate. Both sides are entrenched, and what happens next, we'll tell you in a second.
Testifying before a joint budget hearing in Albany, the mayor admitted that his team had underestimated income from Wall Street salaries and bonuses and identified $1 billion in efficiencies, but insisted that it's not nearly enough.
I believe that the wealthiest individuals and most profitable corporations should contribute a little bit more so that everyone can live lives of dignity. That's why, along with raising the corporate tax, I'm asking for a 2% raise in personal income taxes on the most affluent New Yorkers.
But the mayor's request raised more than a few eyebrows.
We can't keep raising taxes and have people fleeing.
You're talking about free busing, free childcare, so that's pretty ambitious. The state is in serious fiscal trouble as well.
I have a big concern because of your philosophy. So do you have any concern about that?
I am confident that people will continue to stay in the city. There's no doubt in my mind that what should be driving all of our politics are the needs of working people.
Yeah, so again, Kathy Hochul already said no. Mamdani promised a very big spending budget, and secondly, also recently announced he is inheriting a massive budgetary deficit because the last New York City administration spent so much money having to pay for illegal aliens that they quite literally went broke. And so Mamdani's in a crisis where either he can do one of two things. Either he can make massive cuts to the city budget, which would be the practical and logical response, but after all, that wouldn't be very socialist of him. Or number two, he's gonna have to find the revenue from somewhere, which of course means if he can't raise state income taxes on the rich, he can always raise local New York City taxes on poor and working people, which it sounds like today, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly what he's planning to do. Let us tell you all about this, and to all the people who said, oh, Mamdani is my ally, he's gonna fight against the rich, he's gonna make my life more affordable. Did you think that? Did you? Yeah? Where's the government grocery store, by the way? Where's the free buses? Well, I guess Mamdani has an excuse as to why that's not happening either. Take a listen. Here's what he put out today. He says, today I'm releasing the city's preliminary budget. After years of fiscal mismanagement, we're staring at a $5.4 billion budget gap and two paths. Okay, hold on a second before we even get into what his solution is. Notice how he doesn't say, I'm releasing the budget and here's how we're going to pay for all of my Looney Tunes campaign promises. No. He points out $5.4 billion budget gap. Why do I bring that up? Because, ladies and gentlemen, it's very obvious that Mamdani is already making excuses, okay? The reason why in the end he's not going to pay for any of this free stuff, or the justification he's going to give, quote unquote, is because, well, we wanted to do it, but look at the deficit that, quote unquote, Eric Adams gave us, right? So just keep that in mind. This is not even about I'm going to raise taxes to fulfill my campaign promises. No, I'm just going to raise taxes to rectify some of the fiscal mismanagement of my own party. It actually rings eerily similar to Minnesota and honestly what happens every time you vote for Democrats, which is, you'll vote for them and they say, look, we might raise taxes a little bit, but we're the party of public funding. So you're going to get government services, a better social safety net. That's the dream they sell you. And then in reality, no, you wonder, wait, you said you were going to do that. Where's the funding for education? Where's the infrastructure? Where's my welfare? Oh, sorry, we don't have the money for that because we wasted it all on fraud, but we're not going to lower your taxes in the process. So there you go. And of course, again, I say, if you're dealing with a budget gap, doesn't it make sense usually to cut the budget, right? Especially in a place like New York City? Nope, Mamdani's refusing to do that. Remember, he's a socialist. Okay, so here's what he's saying. Solution number one is that Albany, aka the New York State Capitol, the state legislature, that means Kathy Hochul, right, can raise taxes on the ultra wealthy and the most profitable corporations and address the fiscal imbalance between our city and state. That is, let's remember, the Mamdani campaign platform. He's going to ask Albany to raise taxes. Now, of course, he didn't really seem to think out what happens when Albany inevitably says no, but that's solution one. Let's remind ourselves, Albany already has said no. Okay, so now let's move on to solution two, which he's already basically admitting, given these circumstances, this is what he really is intending to do. Okay, the other, a last resort, is to balance the budget on the backs of working people using the only tools at the city's disposal. Oh, wait a minute, Mamdani. So, what you mean to tell me? Translation into simple English. We are going to have to raise local taxes on working people. And even he admits there are going to be taxes on working people in order to balance the budget that we can't care to manage responsibly ourselves. Well, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, what did you even expect, right? The first path matches a structural crisis with a sustainable and fair solution. I know where I stand. Okay, well, you can sit there and pretend like some type of bright, amazing moral crusader because it's the fault of Albany. It's that not so socialist governor who's not doing it. That's why we're raising the taxes. But in reality, Mamdani, who is the one actually raising taxes on local New Yorkers? It's not Kathy Hochul. It is you. You're admitting that and you're just gaslighting about it straight up, right? Because as an actual justice warrior here points out, he can make it sound like, oh, we're just inheriting a big budget deficit. We just had to deal with this. Well, Mamdani is reportedly pushing not even $122 billion. Apparently now the revised number is a $127 billion budget. And not only is that significantly higher than last year's, it's more than the state of Florida's entire $117 billion budget, and Florida has 15 million more people. This is 100% undeniably a spending problem and proof he created the deficit, right?
Even those who agreed with Mamdani had questions of their own.
All right, well, we'll grow the pie, and we need to make sure that you have your priorities in order.
Governor Kathy Hochul has ruled out tax increases. Andrew Ryan of the Citizens Budget Commission says Mamdani shouldn't need higher taxes.
Increasing taxes risks alienating and driving away businesses that create jobs and people who disproportionately pay a lot in our taxes that fund our public schools, our police, our sanitation. We need to be competitive. That's why we should hold the line on taxes.
So that's the gaslighting Mamdani's engaging in. He's claiming, oh, it's just because of the budget crisis. It's all Eric Adams' fault. Well, he knew he was inheriting that. His solution is to do what, right? To increase the budget from last year. Typically, if you're dealing with debt, if you're dealing with a financial crisis, you don't say, oh, we're going to increase the budget. We're going to cut it, right? But no. Notice how he's creating almost a manufactured problem. He is raising the budget, then claiming it's not his fault that we're in a budget deficit, even though he's the one who raised the budget. Check mark number one, right? And then secondly, says in order to deal with the budget that I raised myself, I have to raise taxes, the property taxes and the local taxes on New Yorkers. But no, it's everyone's fault besides me, the person who did it, right? It's Eric Adams' fault. It's Kathy Hochul's fault. No, absolutely. This is 100% undeniably a spending problem and proof that he created the deficit, right? It's just straight. It's very simple stuff, but he's going to sit there and lie to you about it. But I really have to ask the question to the New Yorkers who are going to see their taxes go up. Are you going to buy those lies? Because they're completely out of touch with reality. Now, that said, here is the full details on apparently how he's going to raise taxes. And the answer there apparently is a property tax hike in New York City. That is right, to raise the property taxes. Now, keep in mind, New York City, Mamdani is the very candidate who campaigned on, do we remember, not just affordability, but anyone remember affordable housing, right? That's what that's what he won off of. And then a lot of Democrats figured out, oh, this is what people want. So that's what you hear on the campaign trail. And how does that translate into reality? The affordability promise. Oh, let's raise your property taxes. Affordability, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone clap it up for the Democrats' brilliant solutions to all of these things.
From his mouth to your ears.
And so there will not be one single thing that can answer that crisis. It will require us to pursue every single avenue. That means looking inward into savings and efficiencies. That also means raising taxes.
Oh, man, when I say you are getting exactly what you voted for, I mean you voted for that.
Welcome to socialism, by the way. How do you guys think this works? How do you guys think this actually ends? Every single time, ladies and gentlemen. The eye-propping preliminary budget, which is up around $11 billion from the current year. Yeah, you blame Eric Adams that you're in a deficit, but you say, let's spend more money. Makes a lot of sense. Will also call for the city to drain its $10 billion rainy day fund down to next to nothing, these sources here have said. So it just gets even worse. We're tapping into emergency funds at the same time. This is insanity, one insider told the Post. Property taxes have not been raised in New York City since 9/11. Well, when you vote for someone who, I'm not going to say it. But anyways, the insider who had knowledge of the budget plan for the 27 fiscal year also pointed to drawing the Big Apple's savings as a major red flag that could hit the city's bond rating, which would affect the borrowing power of the city. Gee, you don't say. Socialist regimes typically do not have very good bond ratings, okay? They default on a lot of things. Yeah, that's how this stuff goes. But this comes the day after Governor Hochul already sent another $1.5 billion to help bail out the city in the face of Mamdani's repeated calls to boost taxes on wealthy New Yorkers. So notice some of the excuses here, right? Mamdani's claiming, oh, Albany has to help us out. The state has to help us out. This is why they have to raise taxes. Kathy Hochul, as we speak, is desperately trying to give them money to bail out the city, and yet it's just never enough. Why is that? Because the city keeps spending more. Gee, Mamdani, you're increasing the city budget by $10 billion, right? So you decry fiscal mismanagement of past administrations when you are the one engaged in fiscal mismanagement, and you are the ones using the excuse, that is the excuse as you raise taxes on people. It's just hilarious, you know? So notice how in every single case, Mamdani uses it as an excuse to call on the state government to tax the rich. It's almost like he thinks that's his big grand solution to everything. And, you know, if I were to be conspiratorial about this, I might even sit there and speculate that he is intentionally trying to bankrupt the city on purpose to sort of pressure the state government into raising taxes on everyone else and ultimately implementing their socialist economic dreams. You know, if you know anything about the history of far-left radical revolutionary socialists and communists throughout history, this is a tactic they employ very often, and you're seeing it, by the way, in America, which is they essentially, like, basically purposely tear down society to the point where, you know, essentially they break things and then claim they're the only people who can sit around and fix it, you know? And that's what they do in the streets too, by the way, you know, in Minnesota and Minneapolis. They're like, oh, well, ICE has to get out of our city so there's no more chaos, as they're the ones causing the chaos, right? They're the ones provoking the situation. That's what these people always do, right? They provoke, they incite, they burn everything, they cause all the problems, and then say, oh, wait, we broke everything. Guess you have to accept socialism and communism now, because that's the only way out of this. Yeah, totally. The solution's not for us to balance our budget, spend a reasonable amount. The math doesn't even make sense. What is New York City spending so much money on? No. You think we're going to cut our fraud, waste, and abuse? Absolutely not. We're Democrats. That's what you're voting for, right? Higher taxes so you can fund our fraud, waste, and abuse. And oh, by the way, those free buses, the free childcare, that was a lie anyway, because our quote-unquote budget deficit won't allow it. So guess what? Essentially, what did you get in voting for Zohran Mamdani? You got a armed robbery right in your face, right? That's all that happened. So you got higher property taxes, and no public investment as a result of it because, we just have a budget deficit. But, I'm sure they'll find plenty of money to fund illegal aliens, to fund public housing frauds and all these things. But anyways, essentially, guys, there you have it. That's what happens when you vote for these people. They claim they're not going to raise your taxes. They raise your taxes, then make excuses for it, even though they're purposely doing it, All right, that said, let me know your thoughts. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.